Hello, good morning. Welcome to the Porthole to Justice. I am your host, Amelia Duran. It is June 2nd, 2018. Sorry about that. That is Pizzagate, composed by Zeph Daniels, vocals by Zeph Daniels. You can check out his music at Anti-NWO Freedom Fighters, Anti-NWO Tunes, and it's for artists that are creating their own unique music and styles, and Zeph Daniels is one of the featured artists in that group. You can check it out on Facebook, and you can also check out more of his music on Spreaker.com. So today I'm going to be having on Lunch with Lotus early. We're doing Lunch with Lotus a little bit early today, earlier than scheduled, but you can always tune into the show and the links at any time. Just click on the links that are posted on Facebook or social media, Twitter, Instagram, and you can listen to them at your leisure. So a lot of intense energies surrounding this issue of human trafficking. It brings up a lot of emotions for people, anger, or people that have been victims of, the systemic corruption inside of the government that is perpetuating this culture of human trafficking and modern day slavery. There are 400,000 wrongfully stolen American children kidnapped by federal adoption incentive money. These American children are stolen by all 48 lower states departments of health and human services agencies in their bid for federal adoption incentive grants. The wet work is done by local CPS, Child Protective Services, DHS, Department of Homeland Security, and DFSS, all county agencies. American children are are taken at the rate of 2 to 3 a minute in their bid for federally funded state-operated program monies, which pays $86,000 per child from the beginning of a CPS case and over the following 18 months. $86,000 per child, folks, of federal government money drawn from Social Security savings is spent by DHHS agencies to finance these county agencies. A free-for-all. These monies are unregulated. The Child Protective Services is an unregulated government agency. It's a free-for-all on all American children and families. If your sister loses 4 children to CPS caseworkers, that is a total of $344,000, of which 86% is used towards forced adoption in the corrupt family courts, fraud on the court, the right to lie case, Vreeken versus Hardwick. It was a law that was legislated by Hillary Clinton during the Clinton administration, I believe in 1996, the American Safe Families Act. You can look that up online. 400,000 children at 86,000 per child. Can you say RICO, folks? We have a lot of fraudulent cases in the Porthole to Justice archived in the photo section. You can go and do a search on Facebook or on Twitter. And I'm also on Instagram, data mining this information. So and I also want to say you can go to the Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force, NWO Freedom Fighters page. I have partnered with Lionel Anderson to bring this to light, create awareness, inform the people, because if you're informed and you know about this, you can take empowered measures to protect you and your family from these fraudulent cases, which are basic. When it is fraud on the court, there is no statutes of limitations for fraud on the court. And when it is fraud on the court, I consider that to be human trafficking. And the corruption in the system is, and the political correctness, all of this is enabling the corruption for this to carry on and get worse and worse and worse over the years. So we are being more proactive in educating the public and exposing the corruption within the system. Myself, Lionel Anderson, New Earth United with Robin Markowitz, and Porthole to Justice, and many, many others that are, have their own platforms and are also, we've all teamed up together to bring light to this horrific situation, these crimes against humanity. And so I just wanted to talk about that. You can go and find more information at the Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force page on Facebook, and also the Porthole to Justice, my blog. You can go to the photo section where I've archived and data mined a lot of this content. So today I have Lotus Justice on early this morning. So we're going to give her a call. Let's see, she's standing by. Okay. Bringing light to this issue, it's not a negative thing. A negative thing is living a lie, and they're selling you a lie, marketing you under the guise of political correctness. And hi, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. I'm here. I'm having my espresso, and
yeah, I got my coffee in my big my cup.
So I titled this show this morning, Ending Human Trafficking in Modern Day Slavery by 2020. And I just got done talking about that there are 400,000 wrongfully stolen American children that are kidnapped by the lower states and the departments of human services agencies, CPS, DHS, DFS, all of these agencies are participating in fraud on the court and the trafficking of our children. The children are stolen at a rate of, I think, what is it? Four children every 5 minutes.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's in the millions. That's not counting, again, that's not counting the ones that they actually have tried to change their, okay, you have to think about this. My wife and I were discussing this last night. Our son will never die. And here's why our son will never die. Because they tried to make him initial CB and traffic him as a 3-year-old and disappear him in their bail courts, temple courts for bail babies against the statutes. So the greater point is, that these are fraud upon the courts. These are fraud upon statutes. That means that these are class equity because the statutes are contracts. These judiciary are required by the law as legal agents to comply with statutes. So when they don't follow statutes or impose the statutes or make people follow the statutes in the executive branch executions of the statutes, that's a fraud upon the Treasury. That's the issue here. It's not just a fraud upon the law of the court. These are financial crimes against the American people, against the Treasury, against the United States, and the United States of America instruments of surety. That is the point. And that, that is where the path to reconstituting the law lies. Because if the judiciary is affecting fraud upon the statutes, we have no law. Okay, you have your judiciary. And I just did a video today. It's starting to be loaded up on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. It'll be under the pedophagy paradox as a new video. It's called "Putting on the Ritzcraft," and it is exposing how, in my son's case, prima facie, I can prove through simple administrative processes how this judiciary of the United States in 2 territories, 2 circuit courts of 2 territories, they are affecting and perpetuating kidnapping by perpetuating fraud upon statutes, which are Treasury crimes, folks. Both of those are Treasury crimes. Fraud upon the statutes, where they put a signature and seal, if they even put a signature and seal, which in this case they don't, upon it. But all rulings have to be affirmed by a judge, folks. The clerk can't just, write a pleading and stamp it and whatever. That's not allowed. So I give 2 examples. It just in my son's case, where I took this cause of action through 2 circuits because of the way that the case was. We could do that by the law. We could move to another territory because one of the real parties of interest was a tenant. So a tenant, not a resident. She was a tenant of the territory of Indiana. One of them was a tenant of the territory of Ohio. That was an aunt. And then we have the mother who was a tenant of the territory of Ohio, and then the son. But we went through 2 circuit courts and proved, and you can see these you can get online on Pacer and see a felony fraud by a clerk, 2 clerks of 2 circuit courts. You have a clerk of the 6th Circuit who actually wrote a pleading. She is barred by the statutes under 955 Title 28 from practicing law from the bench. The clerk wrote a pleading and an order to close a habeas on a child under the Rooker-Feldman and a habeas on the mother, brought under a special motion under 2255 cases, which brings forth diversity of citizenship claims. This is where we're at here. So, and you can get on the circuit court of the 7th and look at the case law for where we actually took the criminal, the child custody case through into Indiana, because if you remember the history of the case, he had a great aunt that was pre-qualified under Title IV in both the state of Ohio and the state of Indiana to take cognizance and custody and care of this child the day he was taken. She even applied for custody, and he's not with her. She never saw him. In fact, we just found out last week that they had scheduled, and we had the custody hearing, right? And they acted like they were going to give her custody and were going to integrate her with the child. They made an appointment for this aunt to drive to the territory of Ohio and meet and finally get to see Clay after over a year and a half. She shows up and they refused the hearing. They refused. So she drives from Indiana to Ohio for a scheduled first time get to see our son in a year and a half. The woman who applied for custody, permanent custody, who was already pre-qualified the day he was seized, should have been given the kid, and federal funds never granted or applied for. So that's the other thing. These are frauds against federal funds, folks, over in HHS, too, where they do this. So you're talking about, you can go to 2 cases and on the record see behavior from 2 circuit clerks that are felony and frauds on the statute. Okay, it's the clerks who keep the bank books or obstructing cases. That means the entirety, in my mind, from the way I see law, if the clerks are showing themselves to obstructing justice and preventing claims upon the clerks itself, upon the courts, that tells you that their banks are bankrupt, that they're not doing their job, that the clerk's behavior, everything the clerk has ever done should be suspect under the direction of that clerk. How many other cases were defrauded? How many other claims have been unlawfully denied, even from attorneys that are valid claims? These clerks, you have to understand this. The clerk is like when you go up to a bank and you go to the teller. The clerk is a teller. Have you ever heard the teller say, "I'm not going to accept that cash. I'm not going to accept that check. I'm not going to accept what you're doing. We don't take those anymore." That's what the clerks are doing. They don't have the authority to operate in their predicated acts of RICO that obstruct justice. So in this video, I expose and show people that you can go on the record and see crimes against the statutes being affected by federal clerks. One step below your Supreme Court. Your judiciary is junk, folks. It is junk. It is a bunch of RICO, a bunch of fraud, a bunch of John fraud, a bunch of human trafficking, a bunch of baby trafficking, and we're trying to correct it. And what they're doing, you know what they're doing? They're trying to crash this country. They're trying to bankrupt this country. They are stealing from us hand to mouth. I mean, it is disgusting what they're doing. You have no judiciary. And then I find, we have this thing where it looks like, people that we thought were on our side, Trey Gowdy and stuff like that, may potentially have been obstructing investigations into treason and sedition. You have people who are saying that their children have been kidnapped by Canada and the State Department won't assist them in the recovery of them, and they are American citizens. You have children, they're screaming and hollering, the liberals. I don't even know what that word means anymore because I personally consider myself liberal, because a liberal, from my mind, was always someone who didn't want the government in their business, right? These liberals want fascism up your butt. I mean, they really do. I don't even know what the term means anymore. But you have liberals screaming about being brought over the border. Well, half of those kids, you don't even know if those kids belong to the people that are invading the border.
Yeah,
so
you're cutting out a little bit. Can you? I don't know if you're too close to the mic.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. New phones, crappy technology. But you have people screaming and hollering about the activities over the border with the seizing of children. You don't understand how many people coming in the thousands carrying babies that you don't know if they're their babies, folks. You have no proof that they're their baby. They're screaming and hollering about these kids, and yet they don't mind. When they're taking children screaming and hollering in probate courts from people's houses under threats of guns with black SUVs with smoked out windows and no license plates. I mean, we're talking serious criminal behavior, folks. So, I'm sitting here talking to my wife last night. Our son will never die. They tried to make him a CB, C.B. Because, they like to obscure their name, saying, it's for the protection of the child. No, it's not. So they can take an instrument under the name M. Bates with a number that's a Susquehanna trust account. They can seize the flesh of the child, Clayton Michael Bates, and then rename him and obfuscate him and disappear him in the annals of their Babylon SCB. So you can't even find the kid. It's literally to obscure their trafficking, because they don't put his name on anything, so they don't even tell you that they're actually trafficked. They're trying to hide the name of the child trafficking, folks. My son's name, Clayton Michael Bates, will never die. His name will be in the annals of law history. They will never kill him. Never. I will make sure of it. So, whatever has happened to his flesh that we don't know as of yet today, they will never kill his name. His name will forever live as a case that showed that this government is merely perpetuating child trafficking and human trafficking in its systems of state. You have baby traffickers running your government. You have human traffickers and baby traffickers running your judiciary. This is not a lawful government, folks. There are people within it that are operating within the law. But there's a whole lot more that aren't. A whole lot more that aren't. We are on a very dangerous precipice here. I mean, the information coming is astounding. I just watched a video of some guy who found a child sex trafficking camp on the border of Arizona, and he can't even get the DHS to come in there and look at the site. Okay, and they have tree rapings. I mean, it's just why not? Why do we have American citizens whose children were seized by foreign states, Canada, and then they were ordered to leave the country by their immigration people, but their children are still in Canada? They're American citizens, folks. Why is the Department of State not going and getting these kids? You know why? Because all law is a voluntary process. Okay, and they know that under the nations. The United States can't make Canada give kids back unless, we actually go up there as special forces and infiltrate, and make war upon Canada. Well, they've made war upon an American citizen. Why wouldn't we? I don't care if it's a 4-year-old. You have your government that are just, they're allowing the trafficking of children. They're allowing the stealing of children by other nations openly and not assisting in that. You have them taking children within the, quote, United States judiciary. They're perpetuating fraud against Treasury, bonds. People have no concept of how serious this is. We're talking about the collapse of banking, the collapse of international banking, folks. And I can't even explain the totality of the problem here.
Well, I would like to add that in 1995, I think Bill Clinton established the ICMP, which is the International Missing Persons Index, and you can look that up online. Just Google Bill Clinton ICMP if you want to read the language and about this. And then in 1996, Hillary Clinton, during the Clinton administration, the American Safe Families Act was passed. Then she legislated for the right to lie, and that's social workers' right to lie, constitutional right to lie on these cases, in these child removals. And, consequently, this has become a global issue because during the Clinton administration, these acts were legislated, and then also a branch of CPS was established on our military bases globally. So this is a global network, and the problem of human trafficking is systemic within our government, and it's created a culture in our society that this is okay, that slavery is okay, and mentally we are not understanding that this is not okay. Just because the courts are acting outside of the law and they're doing this and imposing it on the people, we don't have to accept this mentality. We don't have to accept this in our society and our culture. Modern day slavery needs to end. Human trafficking needs to end, and the fraud on our court and the corruption, we must drain the swamp, and we must empower ourselves and learn about this issue, because if we don't know about it and we're not learned, then we cannot fix the problem. We cannot address the issues. Okay, go on. I'm sorry.
Well, and that's what the whole point of my video about putting on the Ritz-Craft. Just because someone says something that is wearing these robes, these uniforms, that ain't law, folks. Don't believe a word coming out of their lying, thieving, criminal mouths. And if you don't know the law, you're compelled to believe that. Learn the law. Start reading what is. I just in the research and doing for a video I did this morning, because I actually do research, for my videos. I give citations. Anyone who goes to my YouTube channel, if you watch my videos, go to the note. They're full of citations of things I speak about, actual citations in law. So you can actually use these as study Cliff Note guides, because these are Cliff Notes, folks. When I do a video, that is me summarizing a totality of knowledge just for you and steering you in a path where to go look in the law. I was just researching this thing about license to practice law. This is a funny fact of law. fact of law being something that's established, can't be denied, that in 2001, they created a task force on the model definition of the license of what the practice of law is. And the American Bar Association was tasked by the president at the time, which that would be Obama, I believe, to codify what is the definition of the practice of law as in a federal level, in a federal sense. You know what they decided? They decided that they wouldn't do that, that they'd leave that to the states. Okay, and here's why. Because they're trying to prevent clerks from being qualified as practicing law from the bench by definition, by their definition, in a federal sense. So, and they also want to control the bar union. So you sit here and you have in 2011, they were tasked with defining what the practice of law is and said, well, we're going to leave it to the states. You know why? Because they realized if they redefine it federally, then the state bar unions can't hold a monopoly over the corporate states. So here's what you have here, folks, because this isn't just about it being, it's illegal. It's not just fraud, it's criminal. These are clearly crimes that are already well established in the law. So your states, your federal government are affecting crimes against the American people. They're affecting war against the United States of America, and the American people. And they are defrauding the statutes, and they're defrauding the Treasury. They're defrauding the American people, the states. They're defrauding international banking notes. Okay? And they're doing this willfully in your judiciary, who are tasked with imposing the statutes that have been edicted by the legislative bodies upon the executive branch. So you have to understand this. This is where your government works. The legislature brings the statutes. The executive branch then creates codes, rules, and procedures to affect those statutory demands by act within the executive branch of government. That includes CPS, all that stuff. The executive branch is required by law to follow those statutes. Okay, when they bring forth, as they execute, they executize them, right? They execute them. For the word executive branch. See, the executors of the legislature. The judiciary's job in those three branches, not the fourth, of the three that we well know, the judiciary branch is supposed to make sure that the executive branch is in compliance with the statutes that they execute. So in the execution of the codes, rules, and procedures, the judiciary is supposed to be making sure that the executive branch is executing them within the law as prescribed by the statutes. They aren't doing that, folks. They are affecting massive embezzlement, massive bond fraud, massive RICO. I mean, it is, I'll be surprised.
Money laundering.
Here soon, we're going to have a collapse of our government because of these people. Because of these criminals, we're going to have a collapse of our banks, our international banking. This is too far.
We really need to stop. We need
to pull this back.
We really need to stop thinking in terms of it's a right or a left or a political persuasion issue. These are crimes against humanity. This affects every race, religion, color. It affects everybody. And we shouldn't be having to still fight slavery, human enslavement, and trafficking in the 20th century. We shouldn't still be having. We already won this war 150 years ago. What we need to do is educate the public. We need to get everybody out of this mindset that somehow this is okay. And it's okay for babies to contract with the state. It is not. Minors cannot contract with the state.
They can't contract with anybody, not just the state. You can't go contract with a minor. Hollywood had to go, there's a reason now. Now we know, don't we, Amelia, why Hollywood created all these they created all these laws and pushed for child labor laws. Yeah, so they could prostitute them out to their CEOs and good friends up in Hollywood. I mean, you start to understand the motivations behind all the behaviors of these disgusting reprobates. I mean, this is a pervasive behavior and pattern that exists all over the world by the same groups of people, and it's been happening for thousands of years, folks. This is the stuff that the prophets railed against and were killed and substituted by other instruments of state. This is what all of the true prophets spoke, the abuses. This is the whole march away from vassaldom and feudalism. And so what you're finding out is they were upset about slavery in private sector. Okay, so a private landholder on a plantation couldn't have indentured servants anymore. Couldn't have peonage contracts, which peonage is fine. You're a peon every day you go to work, folks. Every time you go to work and you have a contract and you took a job with an employer, you're a peon. You're getting paid for your labor, to which you don't own any control. You don't own any of the assets of the company. You're a peon. Peonage is allowed. That is part of employment law, okay? Slavery is an oppression of that, where you're not really getting paid. You're being forced in some way or form. But even still, there's a contract term even with slavery in the Roman era. So these are these are actions in the nature of provosto, the nature of contract. Your government, as it stands now, regardless of who they are, they're foreign to you first off by the constitutional constructs. And they are bound by our contract to them, the grant of law that created them as a government, which is a social contract in the Constitution for the United States of America. That created the United States Trading Company, yada, yada, all that stuff. If they are violating that social contract and instead have obfuscated the de jure instruments, aren't even in de facto at this point in time, but are purely illegitimate and rogue, they're criminal enterprises operating in commerce and RICO and international bond trafficking and fraudulent bonds, international human trafficking. They're criminal syndicates. These are worldwide criminal syndicates held together by one fascia, one union called the Bar Union, the Esquires for the Bar Union, and other title of nobility agents such as doctors are title of nobility. They are holding a union, a fascist, monolithic, theocratic, cult, blood sport, elite, psychopathic group of people who are affecting human trafficking, baby trafficking, human sacrifices.
And our own government is grooming these children. The minute these children step into these foster care placements, okay, they've been removed from their home. Oftentimes they are drugged and they are immediately objectified because they're getting paid. The foster traffickers are getting paid to house these children. So there is a monetary incentive there. Lotus, I want to play something for you. In 2016, I created a video cautioning everybody about SB 18, which was a bill that Senator Pan had presented to Congress, which was passed. And to my knowledge, Kamala Harris was completely aware of this. And this is what has allowed these children at the border to be separated from their families. And I just want you to listen to this. Oftentimes they will stage these conferences to appease the public and make it seem like they are doing something, looking into these policies and procedures to make it seem like they've done something. Lotus, stand by just a second. Or they're doing something behind the scenes. This is Have
you been directed to separate parents from children as a method of deterrence of undocumented immigration?
I have not been directed to do that for purposes of deterrence, no.
What purpose have you been given for separating parents from their children?
So my decision has been that anyone who breaks the law will be prosecuted. If you're a parent or you're a single person or you happen to have a family, if you cross between the ports of entry, we will refer you for prosecution. You've broken U.S. law.
I also ask that I be provided with what training and procedures are being given to CBP officers as it relates to how they are instructed to carry out family separation. I've not received that information. Do you have that today?
No, you have not asked me for it, so I do not have it. But
No, I
I'm happy
asked
to give
him
it
for
to you.
Okay, so again, by the end of next week, please.
Can you explain a little more what you're looking for?
Sure. So your agency will be separating children from their parents. And
No, what we'll be doing is prosecuting parents who've broken the law, just as we do every day in the United States of America.
I can appreciate that. But if that parent has a 4-year-old child, what do you plan on doing with that child?
The child under law goes to HHS for care and custody.
They will be separated from their parent.
Just like we do in the United States every day.
So they will be separated from their parent. And my question then is, when you are separating children from their parents, do you have a protocol in place about how that should be done? And are you training the people who will actually remove a child from their parent on how to do that in the least traumatic way? I would hope you do train on how to do that. And so the question is, and the request has been, to give us the information about how you are training and what the protocols are for separating a child from their parent.
I'm happy to provide you with the training information.
So I've posted the language. I posted the language to Senate Bill 18 to the Porthole to Justice, and I've also posted links in the anti-NWO Freedom Fighters Human Trafficking Task Force blog on Facebook. If you would like to read that bill, go ahead, Lotus.
Okay, here's the key phrase in there. The children, these foreign state children, are under the jurisdiction of HHS. No, they're not. That is a lie. That is a misrepresentation of the law. These children are completely exempt from the jurisdiction of the United States as citizens of foreign states. Okay, that is the law. But what they're because 1605, Title 28, 1605, which Chapter 97, which encompasses 1605, speaks specifically, it's the jurisdiction communities of foreign states. Children who are from foreign countries have never waived their foreign state status, and as such are not subject to the laws of the United States. These children are not under the jurisdiction of HHS. They are under the jurisdiction of the foreign state and should be immediately turned back over to the foreign state. Mexico, wherever they come from. The fact that the federal government is seizing children not in their jurisdiction in law, even by Title 28 standards, is a crime, kidnapping, and child trafficking. So, but she's towing the standard coup, deep state lies and lines. Okay, as she's probably being counseled by her attorney to do. If, in fact, she isn't one of those attorneys of the law herself. HHS has no jurisdiction in law over children from foreign countries to keep them and hold them and traffic them and convey them. No, they don't.
Or disappear them. We have 1,475 children missing recently, I think in 2017 at our borders, and they're unaccounted for.
But whether they're at the borders is moot. That's not the point. Because even children of the born in America on the land of my family. And my Native family, too. I'm not just talking about European immigrants. I'm talking about my Native American Indian descendants. They have no jurisdiction over those children. Children of America have never waived their right to foreign state immunity. What is happening is these corporate, fascist, national, ideological, theocratic cults are oppressing these children into slavery and peonage as things in commerce and thinking that waives their immunity. No child has waived their foreign state immunity. So she has to say what she says about the kids coming across the border from Mexico, because it's the same thing they say about kids in America. Children born of the land of the free and the home of the brave have never waived their foreign state immunity. So what you have is foreign salvo courts, foreign jurisdiction run by foreign agents, seizing, kidnapping, and stealing children that are not in their jurisdiction under our Title 28, 1905. They are not within the jurisdiction of the United States. I am the only person affirming that, and I've affirmed it all the way up to 2 circuit courts, and that's why they have to openly affect crime on the record of the case in order to try to protect themselves from the immunity, give them immunity from the international baby trafficking. Because guess what? It's international and transnational baby trafficking. It's actually international trafficking when these courts do it because they're foreign. It doesn't matter that it happened in the territory of Ohio. It's trafficking by international agencies of bankruptcy, stealing babies that are not subject to their laws, that have foreign state immunity. So she had to toe the party line about the Hispanics or the South American babies being under the jurisdiction of HHS when they are not. The law clearly states these babies are not, and treaties do too. So you're going to tell me that if I go to France or I go to anywhere and I take my kid, because this is what's going here, folks, because this is what I was talking about earlier. This guy just came into contact on Facebook. His children were stolen, kidnapped by Canada, and then he was ordered to leave the country. Okay? They kept his kids. They didn't even have jurisdiction over these kids. These kids are citizens of America. They were born in the American territories. They kept his kids for no foundations of due process of law. So now, don't travel abroad, folks. Don't take your kids. Don't travel anywhere. Because if you take your kids, what the United States is establishing under the UCC and commerce is any nation, any national banking establishment can take your kids and just seize them and say, we have jurisdiction over them. You have a vacancy of people protecting your children to be trafficked, period. Period. So this statement that these children are under the jurisdiction of HHS, no, they're not. Show me in the law where children of foreign countries are under the jurisdiction of HHS when they've never waived their foreign state status and in commerce are not subject to the laws of the United States. And if you understand the Judicial Act of 1789, which established the Article 3 courts, which these people have converted into the Babylonian slave trade salvo courts by coup and obfuscations of the law, if you understand the Article 3 courts, the Article 3 courts specifically relate and have the sole jurisdiction of the laws of the United States, not the states of America United, not the little individual states, the laws of the United States, the federal, because they define and create instruments of law and jurisdictions pertaining to claims against foreign states and seizures of foreign vessels and bills of foreign notes of exchange. So the Article 3 courts are about all of the international admiralty commerce, the UCC. What she basically said in that statement is the United States government has the authority to enter these children into contract with the United States government under the auspices of UCC and all of the international... No, they don't. That is an utter misrepresentation of the law, and whoever was interrogating her or whatever she was doing in that particular hearing should have said, you would explain to me how those children are under the jurisdiction of the United States whenever they're not citizens of the United States. They've never been. They've never surrendered to the laws of the United States. See, it's a dual society, folks.
I want to interject something. You know, we've gotten some pushback from the healing community because I had invited them into our movement. Some of people that want to heal this issue in humanity, and I got some pushback, and I want to say something to those individuals. Shedding light on something that is negative is not a negative thing. Living as a people, and when we're uninformed and uneducated, we are disempowered. Lotus, I was gonna say something else and I just forgot, but I'm gonna remember it in just a minute. Somebody just tried to call me and threw me off.
What I can tell you is that anyone who says that, anyone who chooses to or anyone who is lambasting, insulting, targeting people who are bringing to light the facts and the truth of the matter of what is happening with your governance, and it being completely rogue and operating outside the law on most respects, that the balance of power is a total farce, that the three branches of government that have been designated by our constitutional republic. It's not a demonocracy, folks. This is a republic, okay? Which means that people hold the power. Okay? So the three branches of government, the separation of power is non-existent. They're all cooed by the same fascist organization, the bar union. The only instrument of law left is the American people. And anybody who is lambasting Americans or groups that are bringing truth, who are showing the way, the truth, and the light, let's put it that way, and saying that that's a negative thing, I'm going to tell you those people are shills and tools at best. They're either there to co-opt things, to bring a false narrative, to adorn the language that's being used in the exposures of the truth, or they're tools in that they're ignorant of the law, they're ignorant of facts, and they're arrogant, and they're just morally vacant people.
What's coming to light, what is coming to light is very negative, but it has to come to light so that we can stop it. Let me be clear. Losing children to the HHS monster is not new news. Having a list is. We know how to end. We know that 60 to 70% of the children that are become victims of prostitution are coming out of the Child Protective Services. What we don't know is exactly where the child trafficking starts. I believe that these children are groomed by our government. If these kids were lost in the woods, at least some of them would have been found. But no one is looking for these kids. So I'm going to be organizing in the Porthole to Justice, and I'm going to be having Kathy Lee Arthur on my show as a guest. We're going to be implementing some really real tools on how we can be more proactive.
They didn't like what I was saying, did they?
Involved. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, they didn't like what I was saying. So let me go back to this. People who are targeting whistleblowers are actually affecting treason and sedition, even if they are just American people, quote, citizens of the United States. Here's why. You, as a sovereign, literally, in the fourth branch of the American people who created and gave a grant of law to this form of governance, have an obligation and a duty as a republic, big C citizen, to make sure that crimes are not being affected by the republic that you have as your representative. The government brought forth from that republic. So if I'm bringing the law, and I'm bringing the truth, and I'm bringing facts to bear, and you are insulting me, targeting me, you are actually affecting war, because I have a duty, a fiduciary duty. I do. You do. Every American has a fiduciary duty to make sure that your government and your governance and the people in it comply with the statutes and the Treasury and the bonds and the full faith and credit and the law and the Constitution. So if I'm showing how, so that's my fiduciary duty. Well, guess what? When you war upon people who have a fiduciary duty within the government, as every republic citizen does, and you're trying to prevent them from fulfilling their fiduciary duty by threat, duress, or coercion, or conspiracies to prevent such things from happening, that's considered treason and sedition, folks. Go look it up. I can bring you the citations. For example, what the FBI and the DOJ under Obama did to Trump, that's treason and sedition, because they tried to interfere with his duty as POTUS. Well, guess what? Everybody who was born of America on the territories that we would classify the United States of America and or the insular territories, or even activities outside of the territories of the United States of America in other countries where we have a proxy war between the CIA and what's the other one? The CIA. It's the CIA. It's deep state war. It's the CIA like fighting the FBI. It's something really crazy like that over in Iraq. That's what ISIS is. So you have proxy wars. Every American citizen of the United States of America Republic has a duty as the office of a republic citizen to make sure that your governance is within compliance of the law. If I'm trying to make sure my governance is in compliance with the laws of the Republic and someone interferes with that, that's treason and sedition, first off. So those people who are attacking people bringing stuff to light, that's treason and sedition. They're being seditious by attacking you and me and anybody, D'Souza or anybody else they've done. So when Obama went and attacked American citizens, he was affecting sedition and treason. If he was using the instruments of state to target people bringing crimes of the state to bear, he was affecting sedition and treason because you have a fiduciary duty as a Republic citizen in your office of citizen, the sovereign, not sovereign citizen. That's totally different. That's an oxymoron. But you have a responsibility as a citizen of this Republic, as an officer of the fourth branch of the fourth crown, to walk the law. And when you fail to learn the law, you've already failed in your duties. When you learn the law and you know the law, but you don't stand up for it, that's another failure. See, we just got 4 kids returned to a mother in Georgia because all I did was I was just there. I was going for the ride. I was on the way home from Georgia, and we stopped and we assisted a young woman and a grandmother to witness an action in the court. I was there less than 5 minutes and saw lies coming out of an attorney's mouth, the court-appointed attorney. I go, excuse me, no, that's not the law, ma'am. And I corrected her in the law. And within 10 minutes, the woman was in the court recusing herself from the case. And then I got called to their bench because I was just, because they clearly realized that I had something to do with the recusal of this court-appointed attorney. And she recused herself because I basically proved to her that she was unlearned in the law and was not qualified to be an attorney or a representative as an advocate for the mother and grandmother in this case. So I get called to the bench, and I have a law that controlled the case, which is a recently decided case in the Ninth Circuit. So, see, it's not every circuit, folks. It's not every attorney. It's not every judge. It's not every cause of action they affect this, attornament and these frauds in the statutes. But in this case, in the Ninth Circuit, the case file is Lisa Damari, D-E-M-A-R-E-E, and Anthony Damari versus Laura Penderson and Amy Van Ness. This was decided filed in January 23rd, 2018. In the Ninth Circuit, the case number is 14-16207. It is from the district court number of 2-11CD 00046-ROS. Whenever there's a dash initials, that's the name of the administrator that heard this case. This case affirms that if these CPS workers do not follow the statutes and affect seizures of children without warrants in non-emergent situations or just operate outside the statutes, they lose immunity from civil suit. Well, I'm going to tell you, not only do they lose immunity from civil suit, they lose immunity from crimes of equity, and criminal prosecution. See, they don't want to criminally prosecute their own armies, folks, because if they had to prosecute the CPS workers would probably turn around and go, well, the prosecuting attorney told me to do this. I had a private meeting. They'd start knocking on the true constructors of this human trafficking RICO. This case right here governed the case in Georgia. The woman's children had been seized in a house under emergency circumstances with no emergency for custody, and basically tried to traffic her kids and steal them from her. And I said, you can't do that. Here's a 2018 case law that says you all are wrong. This is the governing case law, and guess what? 2 months later, her kids are back in her care and custody, all 4 of them. Okay? You walk the law, and the law walks itself. If after I brought the law there, they didn't do the job, well, that's another thing. That's on them. That's when you get conspiracy against rights, and you get treason and sedition openly and willfully, folks. See, that's what I'm proving in these courts. I'm walking the law, and they're still defrauding statutes. They are still defrauding the statutes. They are defrauding the full faith and credit of the American people. People need to learn the law so they can walk it. And I'm sorry, I see videos every day of these cops feloniously assaulting people. I really hope no cop who is merely a jackboot fascist private army member for the judiciary, the cooing bar unions, if I ever see a cop feloniously assault someone in front of me, I'm going to drop kick the dude. I'm going to actually stop a felony in progress, because me letting a cop feloniously assault someone who doesn't deserve what's happening to them, that's me becoming culpable in a felony called misprision of felony. So when you all watch criminal acts being perpetrated by agents of state, and you stand by and watch them beat on people and kidnap people and murder people, you have become culpable as a conspirator in misprision of felony and violations of substantial rights and all these other crimes. The American people need to learn the law so they can start walking it. I just saw a video of a guy who caught a cop in her uniform, in her car, with the thin blue, with the blue line flag, which, by the way, that blue line flag that the cops run, that's actually a flag of a foreign nation, and that is a sign that they are operating under a different color of law, their color. That's an aversion of a foreign occupying force. They're flying not the American flag that you know. They're not flying the United States. They've created their own flag, folks. That's a pirate flag. That's the flag of pirates being flown with pride by these IQ of Bean Dip 100 Club morons. There's a video of a cop in her uniform, in her Jeep, brand new. They get paid a lot of money, folks. They get paid close to $7,500,000 a year to beat on you, okay, and to be the private army of the judiciary that are unconstitutional by their own admission. These are unconstitutional private army of the judiciary. They're created. Police powers were created extra constitutionally. That means that's an expansion of the grant, not an extension. Remember, you can't expand it. This woman,
Lotus, worst case scenario.
Flag painted over the hood of her car. You know what? That guy could have written her ticket. He could have written her VIN number down. He could have written her license plate number down. He didn't need a driver's license, and he could have gone and delivered a civil complaint to the local sheriff and the local court and issued her a $250 fine for a violation of statutes. And guess what? He could have done that as just a common man. He could have done that and filed a formal complaint by affidavit. If you all knew these things, you'd do it. And then if he goes to this court and they throw it out, well, then you know that it's just criminal conspiracy. That cop will do whatever he wants because he's a special little army, and this was the egregious video. This one was arrogant. She parked right in front of the door of the handicapped. She wasn't handicapped. She had her police union thing. She clearly thought that because who she was in her uniform, she could just break the law. Well, let me tell you something, folks. Statutes only apply to those who willfully agreed to do commerce in the United States. Those cops, they get paid. They get paid to be arbiters of the United States government through the states and the states thereof. They have waived their foreign state status. They actually are the ones that are subject to the statutes. Flesh and blood men in their everyday operations are not subject to statutes. The statutory agents are. They're not for us. The statutes are the very people. They're not holding to the statutes, the state agents. That's the whole paradox. The statutes are there as mandated federal and state guidelines for the executive branch and the judiciary to comply with. And they're not. Your government is in coup. It's all messed up, folks. People have no concept of how screwed up everything is. And how if we don't start fixing this, you're going to see some serious hardship worldwide. You could potentially see world wars. You could see gross abuses of state agents, rogue bands of cops, which this is happening, going and stealing children, seizing property. You have another case up in Michigan. We're on the record. We talked about this. They basically said, well, we're not going to, we realize that this was a fraudulent mortgage instrument, given by the sheriff, but we are not going to do anything about it because it would cause a destabilization of the government. So you have a district court admitting that we're going to let a criminal conspiracy to defraud a treasury instrument of a mortgage. We're going to allow a sheriff to produce fraudulent documents and seize multiple houses, and we're not going to do anything about it because if we do something about it, it might destabilize the government, folks. Whenever you have a government that says we're going to allow unlawful, clearly conspiratorial criminal behavior to operate within the borders and the territories of our law-abiding nation, because if we don't, it'll bring down a collapse of the government. That right there should tell you how bad things are. Okay? It is bad. I can't even... You see these attorneys with their heads spinning. There's attorneys you're like, I don't even know how this is happening. They've been duped too. Their heads are spinning on how people are being allowed to do these things. Oh, that's because they don't understand the video. They don't understand the paradox we're in. But I'm going to tell you, folks, if they don't clear this up, and I mean it just doesn't turn on a dime shortly, your dollar bill is going to be junk. The American people are going to be in a herd of problems, the people of the world, and guess what? The elite and the fascists and the oligarchs and all those people, they're just going to run free, just like they always do. Well, I'm not going to let that happen. That's why I said, Clay will never die. He will be infamous in the annals of American history because he is the cause of action that clearly shows prima facie upon the records of these criminal courts that they are trafficking babies in violation of statute, and they're trying to make these state actors and these state agencies who are completely 100% co-opted by criminal conspiracies and criminal enterprises of bar union members and their associated agencies and agents in criminal conspiracy to traffic, kidnap, seize, and abuse our children. I'm proving it. You can't rip it from the pages of history, folks. So I'm going to make sure that my son, his name and who he is never
for those people that are out there saying, "Oh, we're just complaining online. We're not doing anything else." Give us an update on your filings in court, really quick, because I have to wrap it up.
That's kind of what this thing was in, putting on the Ritz craft. We had a clerk in the 7th. I think we talked about this. They got our pleading like on the 16th. We got a letter back. Remember, we said, well, we haven't even gotten the pleading back. We got a letter back from the clerk with a date stamped 4 days late from when we approved they received it. So they received it on like the 16th, I believe. They date stamped it on the 21st and said, this has already been mandated closed. And it's not been docketed, clerked, but it's been dated received. So again, they received it on the 16th, but did it show it received? And they're saying, but this isn't, we're not going to put this on the case, okay? And it's signed. It's not signed. It's stamped under, regards with typed pro se clerk. No name, no signature. Okay, I'm going to tell you folks, that is a fraud upon the face. It's a violation of full faith and credit. That this is an order that was clerk sealed with no name. We have no names, no signatures. You have to have, even in the full faith and credit, a judge specifies has to affirm the order. Okay, but see what we did in order to get the judge's information. We did called what's a motion for in bank, where we put every judge into personal liability for imposing the statutes that they're mandated by law to impose upon their brothers and sisters in the bar union in the lower 48. And what the clerk is doing is trying to protect those men and women fraught with who belong to a union that is a complete cooling instrument, the bulwark of the communist and fascist party that ran World War II, that made sure that Xerox and all the multinational companies and or the Sinclair Oil at the time, all those people who were selling gasoline to both sides of the war and computer programs to both sides of the war, which, by the way, helped Hitler, commoditize everyone he put into work camps, by the way. IBM helped with that, folks. That was IBM that did that for Hitler. Okay. So all these corporations, multinational fascist conglomerations run by esquires. Those are your enemies. They are manipulating your government like little puppets with their criminal people under them. That's the world. So we are going to flip on a dime here. We are entering an era never known in American history, in world history, where we can point the finger to the people who started World War I, who benefit from all these things. We are pointing back in history thousands of years, folks, to the same people. Better learn the law. Start reading. Start studying. You're not going to be able to protect yourself if you don't. If you don't even know that you can carry a gun, a means of defense of any kind. I don't care if it's a gun. What is it saying? California, the Bible is a gun now? I just read that this morning. Something like they're making a California legislative act. If you have a Bible, you have to register that you have a Bible. Okay. As an assault weapon. Okay. You know why? Because that's the sword of the fourth crown. That's the sword of the fourth crown of law that's independent than any other crown in the world. That Bible, the law in it, if you know how to walk it. They know what it is. It's the sword. It's the sword of Jesus. That's what he's bringing. So they know it. You need to get it. And I'm not talking about all the begats, the beginnings of that. I'm talking about stuff like by witness of truth, by witness of two, a fact of law made. That's in the Bible, folks. The Gentiles are exempt from their laws. That's in the Bible, folks. These are all things that lawlessness is a sin. That's in the Bible. These are all maxims of law that those who deprive our children of their innocence would be best thrown into the sea with a millstone around their neck. That's an edict by Jesus, that anybody who damages the innocence of a child should be put to death. That's our law, folks. People who are harming our innocent children and depriving them of their innocence, which is what happens when you steal them from their mom and dad, they, by our law, should be put to death. That is the law of this nation and this country, regardless of the ruminations of the foreign agents that are currently occupying it in coup. The law is the law. If you don't know how to invoke the law versus what the witchcraft that they're spewing as lies and being unlearned in the law, at best they're unlearned in the law. But remember, ignorance of the law is no excuse. That comes out of their mouths every day in the judiciary. I have them on record saying these things to other people. Well, ignorance of the law, sir, does not absolve you from the felony you committed. I didn't know it was a felony. Well, that's too bad. Guess what? It's too bad that all you baby traffickers didn't know that if you deprive our children of innocence, you die. You die. That's our law. That's the law that founded this country. That's the law that gave them the grant to operate under a full faith and credit. See, that's the key here. The faith. By our faith, the Christian Orthodox tenet, you leave babies alone. You leave babies out of your cult blood sacrifice wars. You don't touch the innocence of children. That's the foundation that is a constructive fraud to try to contact with the child, because it's depriving the child of an innocence in a manner that he can't even conceive the reason and logic and willful consent in a jural republic society. They have no authority over our children. That's the facts. That's a fact of law. So these people who are messing with our kids, by our law, they all are to be thrown into the sea with millstones around their necks. And by my will, I'm going to make sure a large portion of them are.
And folks,
I will tear this down. I will tear their powers, their temples down, and we will start anew if they won't fix it.
And folks, together, all of us, we can move mountains, and we can, create bigger venues and ways of getting resources and growing our movement for the greater good of humanity. There's so much needed, and I'm really going to start asking people to start participating more, and we need to start putting our money where our mouths is. We have.
I've got to, right.
Go ahead.
I have a matching grant. I'm so busy. Like I said last time, I'm very glad that you offer us this ability for the to have some type of press, some type of press exposure in the independent media, because I don't have time to have my own. I've been funding this as out of my own pocket, and basically I'm a zero-based project, but I fund all of this out of my own pocket. However, we do have human20on20.com, which provides vocational training for victims of human trafficking globally, so that they aren't vulnerable to these practices. However,
we do need your support. We do need to grow our platforms. Many have come together, a lot of different platforms, people that have platforms and radio shows and blogs and journalists, investigative journalists, to bring these facts to light. And everybody deserves to be recognized and supported. And we do want to grow. I would like to get a call-in number, and I've been so blessed. The Zeph Report, Zeph Daniels and his wife Trish Daniels have really helped me perfect my public speaking skills and supported me greatly in cultivating this station. However, we're going to need people to really start contributing and supporting the content, because we would like to grow and start making bigger things happen and make some more moves. And so if you can afford to support our network, you can go to Porthole to Justice. I've posted a link, and you can look into that. And it's greatly, greatly appreciated that you support our fellowship. Lotus, thank you so much for you have been my most loyal guest on the show for years.
Contributor,
yeah. My greatest,
I want
my greatest contributor.
To plug too, because right now we have a matching grant. Where if we raise $2,000, we have a private donor who will give us $2,000 to help in this. But he did it as a matching grant. And, like for me, I'm going to be looking in this weekend into getting a platform, like just a domain name with.
I personally, I'm going to send you a link. I want to get you a mic. If I have to send you, I want to get you a mic, a better mic, so that, you have a mic there and I have a mic here, and we have a much clearer. You got to have a mic. You just do. It's just. Well,
people have to understand, right? People have to understand that the whole reason people go, I listen to the stuff online, like even with people, and they're like, well, how does this happen? How are there no laws? You're talking about a contrived vacancy of statutes. We've talked about this. I've spoken to attorneys who, universities have done studies, and they said that these vacancies in statutes are contrived, that the bar unions are intentionally not evolving statutes so that they can steal, folks, so that they can defraud us. These are contrived vacancies of law. So because you're being run by a criminal.
Can we repeal Senate Bill 18 out of California that is allowing? Can we appeal it? What can we do? What can we do?
Well, the law is very clear on these things. Why? And we've discussed this. If the law is not being walked by the attorneys, it's a contrived conspiracy not to do it.
But the Bar Association is legislating these bills to allow this to happen, and they're making it into law.
Let me tell you where that lies. Let me tell you where that lies in the law. There's a section in the federal criminal codes and rules. It'd be under Article 5, privileges. It's called state privileges. Okay? So these states have been given the privilege to legislate their own rules and stuff. Well, guess what? There's a section here called diversity of citizenship claims, and there's a federal privilege. So the fact of the matter is that the states, again, the corporate state of California, has agreed to willfully do business with the federal government, which means they have waived their foreign state status and are subject to the laws of the United States. However, if they're affecting commerce outside of the federal grants of law or the federal constitution, their state privileges as foreign states to the federal state, remember everybody's foreign here, those state privileges are removed and the federal privileges apply. So when these states are affecting statutes that are not in compliance with the federal statutes of federal grant and are trying to say that they have a state privilege right.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Are we there? That's okay. We have a state privilege right, and we can affect statutes that are not in compliance with the federal government. Wrong. You can't. So these are what they need to be brought under diversified citizenship claims. It's the same thing with my son. He's not a citizen subject to their laws. It's a diversity of citizenship thing. You know what the diversity of citizenship claim says? And these are again, I talk about getting these books, and one of some of the key ones are the 1993 editions where they have all these annotations. But according to, they had a committee, they had a committee on the judiciary, passed in 1993 by the Senate, and was a conference in the House report. These are all in here. It says the federal court sitting in a non-diversity case such as this does not settle a tribunal. In some cases, it may fit for special reasons, it says. But the last analysis turns upon the laws of the United States, not that of any state. These cases turn upon the laws of the United States federal republic, not these corporate states. The attorneys don't want to argue the law that already exists because then their RICO won't happen. So that's why people like me, who I am not an attorney, you couldn't pay me to be a traitor to my country by taking the title of Esquire. You couldn't pay me to do it. These people don't have a problem with it, folks. They're sophists. So these attorneys that are promoting statutes and or whatever they're doing, rules, codes, administrative procedures in their forms, these private jurisdiction forms, that are not compliant with the federal common law or federal statutes or the federal privileges which supersede the states, they agreed by compact in the formation of the United States under the Constitution and by contract in these Title IV or any other federal grant, because remember, police get federal grant money. These cities get federal grant money for other things, bond work. Any municipality or state franchise that accepts federal money has waived its foreign state status and is subject to the federal privileges under the laws of the greater construct, the common law of the United States and the United States of America. That's a fact of law. So and that's affirmed in their own rules. So if the attorneys aren't advancing that, it's because they're in coup. They are cooing your government criminally. These bar unions are criminal enterprises. They need dissolved. They need to have the members that are manipulating this coup brought to justice under military code. They need hung for treason and sedition. I don't care if it's an ex-president, folks. I don't care. If you don't do that, if you have an ex-president or an ex-secretary of state, ex-FBI agent or whatever, who have affected treason and sedition in your government and your current legislation and executive branch and judicial branch and military, don't put them on trial and don't bring them to bear for their treason and sedition. You have no government. We are done. That government is junk. I'm not saying the construct of it is junk. I'm telling you that everybody in it needs removed. That's what I'm going to tell you. And they, for sure, if I can't remove them, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to make darn sure they don't get funded. They're not going to access our treasury anymore and have a blank check to affect criminal racketeering and child trafficking and international crimes against humanity under my name, of my family, and my name I was incarnated and given by my sacred mother, and they're definitely not going to do it under the instruments of the government and the nation that my family was pivotal in helping create prior to 1666 when they came here in early 1600, 1605. They're not going to do it. They're not going to use my bank, my estates anymore to affect their criminal racketeering in the auspices of a national government. It's fascism, folks.
Lotus,
fascism.
I have an extra mic here, and I'm going to look into sending this to you so that I'm very blessed, and Zeph Daniels bought me a new mic, and so I have this one that I purchased, and we'll have to figure out how to use it. But I'm gonna after the show, let's touch base. Let's try to touch base so that I can.
And a lot of times, though, Amelia, you and I both know we get so much interference in what we do. So and people, we are perseverant. I am probably the most perseverant person and determined person you will ever meet. I'm going to make sure that the world knows what these people are, and I can only bring the law. I cannot bring the wrath.
Well,
I'm going to make sure
you're bringing it, and I love you for it. Listen, I've got to wrap.
Well, thank you for the forum. Yep.
Yeah. I've got to wrap it up, but give me a call later this afternoon so we can touch base.
Absolutely, friend.
All right.
Well, everybody be safe. Be safe. Start learning the laws to protect yourselves, folks. I love you all. Namaste.
All right. Bye-bye. So that is Lotus Justice. You can check her out on YouTube. She has a channel called Lunch with Lotus. And I want to also encourage you guys to check out my good friend Govinda Tidbal's initiative. It is called Human 2020, and you can go to human2020.com. It provides, you can either get involved and do what you can in your own capacity, or you can go to the website and you can obviously donate as well. And the donations, basically, they go to, he's helped initiatives like mine, but they help children and victims of human trafficking. They give them vocational training so that they're not vulnerable to these types of crimes and slavery. And obviously the goal is to end modern day slavery by 2020. And myself and many others have used their platforms to give a voice to these victims and the children as well. So yeah, check it out. Go to human2020.com. And thank you so much, guys. I love it. And I'm going to play a Zeph Daniels tune and close this segment out. You guys have a great day.
Why did they make it so difficult?
Can you not see it?
That's better now.
There must be some way out of this.
It's better now.
It's much better now.
It's better now.
It's much better now.
Yes.
I don't know why you thought you would keep on. Now that everybody knows, from your head down to your toes, you really did wrong to lock me up in the asylum. You knew I'd get out one day. Yeah. You knew I was coming after you. You knew one day I'd settle the score. I don't know why it's so quiet here, but yeah, you've done me. Solitary confinement is not meant for me. The Thorazine and all medication made me into a zombie. I don't know if I'll ever get over it. I use my psychic power to track you down, and I tracked you down. I tracked you down. You seem to think that I won't ever come back, but now I'm. That was me you waved to on Sunset. I saw you there. Some old BMW. And Lida Whittier going to check on your mom's house. Don't think that I forgot for 1 minute how you delivered me up to Satan. And I didn't object because I'm not just like you. I have a point of view. You have no right over my soul. You have no right. I know you're mind controlled and your soul is gone. I know you're just a servant of darkness, withered, you're ugly. It's all gone. You're not sexy, you're stupid. I don't know why you thought you would keep on. Now that everybody knows how you delivered me up to Satan. You really did wrong to lock me up in the asylum. You knew I'd get out one day. I was coming out to you. You knew one day I'd settle the score.
Consider it settled.